Hello, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Russ, you have something to say?
I do. So we didn't do it yesterday, but heck, it's better that we do it today because you're here. Yesterday was the anniversary of Live Aid, and I'm going to tell a different short story from one that I told last year for Live Aid because I was there.
35th anniversary.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. The way we survived is we left Long Island at about 3:30 in the morning. We stopped at a bagel store. I think we probably went to Oasis Bagels, which is in Queens, which is 24 hours back in the day. And one of the guys, we had two cars of people. One of the guys just literally gave the bagel guy $100, and he filled a trash bag full of bagels. And that was how we sort of got ourselves going. So we were throwing food to each other on the trip. We get there at 6 a.m. and then we start, listening to what was going on the big board for RFK's big board for England. So I survived that day on bagels, on samples of cherry Coke, which had come out, and snow cones. I'm not even sure if I ate real food that day.
Did you bring a tub of cream cheese?
No, we just ate them plain, but I'm not even sure I ate real food. And then at night, people were passing us like their drinks, and we shared them like it was like the 80s. Would I do that now? No,
no, we can't. But it's funny because that was a day when I had been traveling through Europe. I was with a choral group in high school called American Music Abroad. So I was singing over there, and I was singing with sang it like in the Notre Dame Cathedral. I sang in Buckingham Palace. I was singing all over the place. And we came back the day of Live Aid. That was the day I flew home. So I was literally I flew from England to Philadelphia, which was like so I'm like literally going from one place where it is to another place where it is. And I didn't get home until when I got home to see, like when I walked through the door, Led Zeppelin was going on. That's when I got home.
And coincidentally, we were just talking about that because obviously that is like the apex moment, or at least one of the apex moments of Phil Collins' career, because he did the going to London, going to Philadelphia.
Yeah, he was doing the same flight while he was on the Concorde, so he was a lot faster than we were. But
he played with Clapton, he played with Sting, and he played I think with Daryl Sturmer when he did his own solo stuff, and then he played with Zeppelin. And to this day, it's like it just seems the urban myth is that I don't know about urban myth. It was more Jimmy Page's after the fact being displeased with how Zeppelin sounded. They hadn't played together in years.
I told you, Plant literally threw the songbook in front of them and said to the crowd, "It's been a while," and so he made no bones about it that he might get words and everything. And so
and that was to me at the time. I remember thinking, it's fine. Like, I mean, and honestly, and here's the other thing about it, with how crazy different things are in 35 years. I mean, obviously 35 years I feel crazy old when I say that, but I didn't even know this was going on. So like I show, like I came home, it's like, very different times, like, and I hadn't been there for the buildup because I had been in Europe for 3.5 weeks. So I hadn't been there for the Philly buildup or anything like that. I come home and my mom, like when I pull in, I get dropped off at the house. My mom's like, "You got to come inside. They're doing this thing today called Live Aid." And I didn't even know they existed. So I'm like walking into the house, and I'm seeing Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and a bunch of things. And I was like, "This is crazy awesome." And to me, I was just like, "This is amazing."
Well, the funny thing is, the low point could have been McCartney because he finished, and there was what was it, Russ? Was there like audio problems?
There was audio problems. They fixed it after the fact, like on the DVD. But there were some. You could hear some voices that were louder than others because there were literally probably 30 performers on stage doing that.
Right. Yeah. But of course, and this has now been sort of. I mean, with the movie Bohemian Rhapsody now is sort of out of kilter, but I mean, even at that point, the Freddie, the Queen performance was, I mean, it was immediate how unbelievable it was.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you
that was the thing, right?
I'm going to switch over here to Russ on the computer. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean that I think was I think in retrospect now years later is considered the.
I'm going to tell you what I felt like
point, right?
were the two best acts in Philly. George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers.
Yeah, it's just really funny.
Local band, and I loved George Thorogood. And
didn't like Tommy Conwell play too?
The other one was CSNY. To me, getting those guys back together was the biggest chore of any of these things. And if you think about it, to this day, they've never gotten back together. That was the one time.
Wow.
They did tour.
I can't hear Mike. I'm going to back out and come back in.
Okay, yeah. No, I thought this was too, Mike. I think you're right.
Did tour.
I'm pretty sure they toured.
I
actually know that because we actually did one opening show with them. With that group. Yeah,
that's
I know they toured at least once. But it was a great, obviously great memory. Hey, Russ.
I still can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us, huh? That's so weird. We can hear you.
Hold on.
I guess
we can hear you.
That because you can't hear me saying that, but we can hear you.
Try now.
Yeah, to me, the whole thing that it was a great and an incredible event. I wish I
want to go back on the other thing. I don't know why. Why is this doing this?
Huh? I don't know, Russ.
Go back on the other one.
Yeah, just flip back to the other one, I guess. If that makes any sense. This thing.
And whose phone's ringing?
Mine.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Can't be anything too important. No, it's fine.
No. To me, Queen was. But like I said, I thought that back in 1980. Back in the 80s, I didn't need Bohemian Rhapsody to tell me that Queen's performance was great. You still don't hear us, Russ?
I didn't hear us. Okay, that's fine. It's funny. I think that things do change over time. Like to me, my favorite bands. Like I wasn't a really big Queen guy. Like at the time, I have to admit, like that wasn't one of my bands that I really liked. I grew to appreciate them and like them a lot more as time went on, but. To me, it was like Led Zeppelin. That was amazing. The Who was amazing. Although I wasn't a huge Who fan, I still knew that was historically amazing. And then also, but Pink Floyd. That was like to me, Pink Floyd was it. Like Roger Waters.
I thought Bono jumping into the crowd when U2 played, basically trying to prevent a couple people from being crushed by the fans. I think he was trying to prevent an Altamont type of situation from happening. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like we think about those and we think about those artists and the ones that transcend. And then if you look at the list of people who played who were sort of like cup of coffee type people.
Yep.
I'll pull it up for tomorrow, but there were acts that played Live Aid that you like completely are forgettable.
Well, all right. So for Philly,
Spandau Ballet played Live Aid or something like that, because that would be like.
No, it wasn't Spandau Ballet, but like the Hooters, they were popular. They were
the Hooters.
The Hooters played.
Well, didn't Tommy Conwell play too? Like
yes, Tommy Conwell played.
That was like when Tommy Conwell and the Thorogood and all those guys, they were really big in Philly.
Yeah. But Thorogood, like I said, I really felt like he was great. The CSNY, the people forget there was a big buildup even at the show because you didn't know if it was going to happen. And then there was a point where it got teased. And then there was a point where they put out just 4 empty chairs on the stage. And that's when everybody was thinking, all right, I guess this is happening. And who knows? They probably had to give Neil Young a last minute nudge or something. Because I'm telling you, he has never played with those guys.
No, that's not true. We have to actually. They did tour.
They did tour again?
And I can tell you that because we opened for them.
Okay.
I played, and I did play, like, when we did play one show with them.
I think it was like the American Dream Tour or something like that. It was,
So that may be the only other time then.
It was definitely an awkward tour, I thought. Like
it was that might have been the first time since they broke up in like 71.
Yeah.
That's probably what it was, Russ.
No, it definitely was that. But then I didn't even think they toured ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, the other story real quick about bands breaking up and getting back together, which is like really, really cool. Is Simon and Garfunkel, when they did that, I was a huge Simon and Garfunkel fan. They were like one of my favorites. And when they did the concert in Central Park, that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that was like,
I remember that well. That one I remember really well.
Yeah, it was incredible, right?
I remember that one really well, and I always remember the fact that Paul Simon sang a song that he wrote about John Lennon, and some idiot jumped on stage and like threatened him. because this was like a year after Lennon had been.
Yeah, it was right around then. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, so here's some of those other acts.
Yeah.
Rick Springfield was real mediocre.
I like Rick Springfield. I like him.
He was
Patty
big at
LaBelle,
the time, though. That was a name at the time.
I know. Patty LaBelle, I couldn't wait for her to stop screaming, to be honest.
Yeah.
She did
one of the highlights, Madonna was great, but she was so lit up. There was an MTV party area, and we were very close to that. And so we saw Madonna go in, and when she came out of that, her eyes were just like never matching up the rest of the show. And she went on stage with the Thompson twins. That was really good. Actually,
the Thompson twins were pretty big too. They were pretty good too.
They were big. Yeah. The Cars were good. Simple Minds were good. We may have forgotten about them.
I like them.
Run DMC, I didn't really care about, but you know.
I've grown to appreciate Run DMC over the years, like Queen, but like they still don't like, at the time it. But I didn't finish the time.
Ashford and Simpson, I don't remember, and I don't remember Billy Ocean. Brian Adams, I remember.
So after Simon and Garfunkel did that concert, about 3 years later, they decided that they were going to tour again together, and they did they put an album out that was like with Simon and Garfunkel. It was a Paul Simon album where they like hurriedly put like Garfunkel harmonies on it and called it. But then by the time so they were going to release that album, I went to the show. I have like a Simon and Garfunkel's T-shirt. It was in New York, I think. And I went. It was definitely. It was a Giant Stadium actually, and then they did 4 shows together. Couldn't stand each other and canceled the rest of the tour. and then went on. And then the album never came out as a Simon and Garfunkel album. Garfunkel's vocals were removed from the album. Came out just as a Paul Simon album. It was really it's just like the kind of like the ridiculousness.
But everything was a Paul Simon album. Like it really, I don't think Garfunkel would have done much with the writing anyhow.
Yeah, he's lucky Paul let him sing "Bridge Over Troubled Water."
But he has a better voice than Paul.
You guys,
he's got a much better voice than Paul, though. I mean, that's
of course. 6 months ago, I found out I'm somehow related to Paul, but we've not been able to pin that down yet.
Oh, bring it right back to you.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's weird.
All right,
only after he retires and I can't get free tickets.
Personally, the only thing I'd be proud of is that he's married to Edie Brickell.
Yeah,
was.
No, they're still married.
Still?
No.
Okay. Yep,
no, Edie Brickell is now, if I'm not mistaken, now married to Steve Martin.
No, she's not. They did a bluegrass album together. She's still married to Paul Simon.
All right, I'll believe you.
I'll double check.
Double check
on that.
What I am is
sure she's not.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
Edie Brickell, so I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, that was the one.
She is married to Paul Simon.
Okay.
Is this a Wikipedia reference?
This is a Wikipedia. Yes.
No, it doesn't count.
Can't be true. All right, here we go. Let's start the show. All right. Hello, Hockey World. It is Tuesday, July 14th, 2020.
I am not Edie Brickell. I am Michael Agello.
I'm not Paul Simon. I'm Anthony Mangione.
Oh, thank God.
Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
I'm Eklund, and what I am is what I am. Are you what you are, or what? You're watching the Hockey Buzzcast at HockeyBuzzcast. I think so. Yeah, HockeyBuzz.com. And where the podcast comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in the comings, goings, in the afternoons in the hockey world. I kind of mix that up a lot, but that's okay. And
we are all unfit to play.
We are. And I want to talk rumors. I want to start off with rumors today because there actually are some rumors, and I'm excited for that because obviously without them, we get less traffic because Hockey Buzz is a rumor site, and I'm not the first to admit that. So it's nice when actually some things start to be talked about again. And I want to start with the Brock Besser one because I guess the Canucks came out last night and said, and I haven't talked to you guys since this rumor started swirling around, but came out and said how upset they were about the fact that this is out there at all. That they said that they have no intention. They didn't say they were never going to trade them. They didn't go to the untouchable route or anything like that. But I know for a fact, and of course, Benning came out and said he hasn't talked to anybody, which is just flat out, according to what I've heard, not true. And I never like to say that specifically. I'm saying according to what I've heard, not true. And it's tough. I mean, Brock Besser is to me like that's a tough name to get out there and possibly be traded. I think that he's to me. arguably the best all-around Canuck. I think.
I think Pettersson is still.
No, I think he's the best goal scorer. That's what I would say he is. He's the best.
That's a good description. Yeah.
I mean, I think best goal scorer, but I think also a bit of a spiritual leader of that team too.
He is real. He's a real loose guy, and a lot of teammates do like him. So I would agree with that too. You're right.
Yeah, and it's a big name to get out there. Obviously, they have issues with Markstrom, Quinn Hughes, and obviously, like we talked about, Elias Pettersson coming up. Those are big names. But I'll read you some of the text I got. It was kind of interesting. And they also want to sign Toffoli. I was told in my text. But the idea, the team I heard they talked to was New Jersey. That for sure, and that makes some sense. I think Jersey would definitely love to get a hold of Brock Besser, and the deal would include Severson going to Vancouver. I was told.
Yeah, Damon Severson. Yeah,
and Dan Severson. Yeah, and one of the first round picks that they have this year could be the Arizona pick, but it depends on things that are still happening. And there was also talk that Louis Eriksson could be going to New Jersey in the deal, which would be New Jersey taking on more salary, right? So,
well, New Jersey can because they need to get to the cap floor. The Severson,
obviously Louis Eriksson is a big name for Vancouver to move. That's a big.
I'm going to tell you what I don't understand from the New Jersey end is they have been misusing Damon Severson for the last two coaches now, and if you go back 3 years, you could see the offense in his game, how well he played. Then it's been going up and down. There's been like half season good moments, and then they change up how the team's going to play again, and it affects him. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't make that much money, and they're not that deep on defense. And I think if they make this trade, they're crazy. It's good to get Brock Besser, but we're still in the defensive league, and they only have Ty Smith coming. It's not like they have a load of guys coming.
Well, Severson makes $4.16 million for another 3 years.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Besser makes $5.875 for another 2 years. So there's about a 1.7 difference. And then you throw the first round pick in that deal potentially. But then Eriksson's got a $6 million cap hit, but the money is only $4 million. And for Josh Harris, if you're getting more of a bang for the buck in terms of cap and you're paying less in money, that's perfect for him.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Eriksson, I mean, is definitely going down.
He's done.
He's done, but he's still, I think, a good player to have around. I actually do.
He's about at least a minimum of 2 seasons past use. I mean, you could say he's good to have around, but I think he's taking up a rock. Honestly, he's about a year removed from.
Oh yeah, really no question.
He should be in the he should be wrapping up his career in the SHL. Reality.
Again, he's another member of that disastrous free agent class, along with Opozo, along with Lucic, along with Franz Nielsen. I don't remember any one of the guys in that one that turned out good.
I refer to that class as the money burning a hole in my pocket class.
Yeah, that's the money pick class, isn't it? I agree with that. So the other trade, though, that I think was even more interesting is, and this came from a really good source as well, and I checked into it because at first I thought that can't be real, but it is that the Islanders are having issues signing Matthew Barzal, and the concept here is, they are actually afraid that he could be offer sheeted. And you don't hear teams too often say this because people think offer sheets are such a big deal. The fear of him being offer sheeted could be now. I want to say this too about teams when they say they're afraid about being offer sheeted. One person one time told me that's our way of saying we have to trade him so that people don't get pissed off when we trade him, which is like an interesting thing. Which is. I'm not saying that's the case here, but I have heard that trick used before.
Interesting mental gymnastics.
Yeah, to say to your fan base, we didn't want to trade Matthew Barzal, but he was going to get offer sheeted.
There's one way to not worry about an offer sheet, and that's to pay the guy what he's worth.
Right, sign him. Yeah. But here's the problem.
What is he worth? And can the Islanders afford it? That's the big
that's what I was going to say. I mean, but you look at what Lou has done over the last few years. He hasn't paid top dollar for anybody, but he's signed enough guys at a middle salary that now he's in trouble. Anders Lee $7 million, Brock Nelson $6 million, Eberle 5.5, Bailey, and now Pietrangelo at 5, Boychuk at 6, and Nick Leddy at 5.5. I've never seen more mediocre or middle of the road players being overpaid in my life than this team. But they didn't pay John Tavares, and they didn't surround him with good players.
They offered Tavares money. It wasn't a money thing.
But they didn't surround him with good players. That's
the difference, right? For years they didn't do that, and then they finally started to a little bit. By then it was too little, too late, right? And Lee, we all thought Liedstrom was an overpayment because if you notice, Lee's numbers declined substantively before they signed him to that 7-year, $49 million deal.
I'll tell you what to me, what the problem is here with the little bit of a delay for the arena, and we don't know at this point, will it still be on time? They're always going to say it's on time until it isn't, but we don't know where that's going to be. They didn't really want to spend much money until that opened and sort of use those profits, but Barzal's not going to wait for that. And
he's a restricted free agent right now.
Right. You know? He's not waiting for that. So that is their quandary because they're going to have to pay him before they start getting revenue from the new building. And we don't even know where they're going to be playing in the winter because, Nassau Coliseum's padlocked. Unless someone comes up with like 130, 140 million, they're going to probably be playing at Barclays.
Take it out of petty cash.
So we don't know what kind of revenue they'll pull in. This doesn't look good, though, for the event for them to sign the Islanders unless Ledecky just says, all right, you know what? I'm going to have to take a hit here, but I know I'm going to get future earnings. But that's not the way he's been operating up to this point.
And
so, Russ, I'll ask you the better question, though, is can Matthew Barzal be the face of your franchise and a dominant player?
That's the big question.
Absolutely, yes. If you have players around him.
If that is the answer, then you pay him as such. If you have any doubts, then you need to find a way to get something else in who can be the face of your franchise.
He'll be one of those guys. Sorry, Mike. If you trade him, he will haunt you for the next 10, 12 years with big years, being an all-star player, maybe even winning a cup somewhere.
And I forgot Andrew Ladd at $5.5 million, which is
that's a huge one. Yeah, that one's
dead money.
Massive. That is a massive albatross. But again, for Barzal, to me, he has, and I know this may be a little bit of hyperbole, but I've always seen a little bit of Steve Yzerman in his game.
Yeah,
to me, and that's where you really. That's where that to me is where I think he is. If he has that upside and you foster it properly, you do have the face of your franchise in the circumstance.
You do.
So, Russ, we have a question in the chat here.
I agree with you.
Russ, can you please talk about Vancouver prospect Jack Rathbone? He's rumored to be signing with a team in the next 2 days.
Yeah, he's terrific. He defenseman for Harvard, fast. I was telling Anthony offline, I didn't know a lot about Rathbone going into a couple of years ago into the combine, but I heard Tony Donato talking about him, whether it was at the combine to somebody else. And so I clued into Jack Rathbone real quick. I interviewed him, started to research him, have gotten to see him play in the Beanpot. He's fast. He's quick on the decision-making. He is a really good offensive defenseman. He doesn't take big chances. So he looks like a good second pairing guy, and this is the kind of guy that could really help New Jersey, help
Vancouver
not make that trade with New Jersey just to bring David Severson in. Right. But they'll be a little young on the blue line. That's the only thing. Right. But he is a really good player with a lot of upside.
Is he an unsigned?
Yeah, he's a college player, so he'd have to turn pro.
Okay,
is he eligible to play though right now?
No, he won't be eligible to play now. Okay. I mean, unless there's some sort of crazy.
Considering the history between him and Judd Brackett, I get rather interested as to whether or not Minnesota will be his landing spot. Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at that, but it all depends. Minnesota's blue line is jammed. Vancouver's isn't. That's the only thing.
Right? Yeah, but Minnesota is another one of those teams where look at the money that they're spending on defense with Spurgeon, with Dumba, with Suter, with Brodin. I think he's got a year left. They may want to move one of those guys out and bring in a younger, cheaper defenseman. So that might be a move if they can do it. That would make sense.
Right.
Sticking on the
hold on. So, when you mentioned about Barzal being offer cheated and maybe being moved, where would a target location be?
Yeah, that's a big.
Montreal.
Right? Montreal was the first that came up as far as an offer sheet goes. And That could also be a trade.
Maybe they could do it like Aho and just get it matched.
Yeah, no, that could happen. Right.
Structure.
I think sometimes
structure matters, and that's we all learn
structure,
especially for the Islanders, right? So, and that teams know that, right? Although we've seen, if Nashville can make the Shea Weber structure work, I tend to think anybody can make anything work, because the Flyers really screwed them with that structure, and that Nashville found a way to keep it, right? Keep Shea Weber. But I mean, the guy had to take out a major loan to do it. But and where the Islanders are willing to do that or not is a big question. Now, I think what I feel like is this is an offer sheet towards a trade more than it is an offer sheet. Like Montreal comes to them and says, "Hey, we're going to offer sheet them," and then they say, "Okay, well, let's talk. We'd rather talk trade," because the Islanders might want more immediate help right now. Whether or not you get. I don't know who you can get. Can you get Matt Domi in a trade? Can you get Matt Domi in a trade like this?
You can't get Kotkaniemi. You can't.
You might.
Maybe you can get Domi. Domi's an interesting.
Yeah, Domi maybe.
For the Islanders, that gets a little interesting.
You can sell. I think you can sell Domi to the Islander fan base.
Yeah, but there's a problem here. Okay, Domi's coming off one of his. He had a great year last year. He had a good year this year. He's an RFA. You trade him. You're going to end up paying him $5.5–6 million. So where's the savings between paying Domi $5.5 and $6 million, or paying Barzal $7.5 to $8 million, or maybe even more?
Well, I mean,
I think you're paying Barzal more than $7.5 to $8 million.
You're talking like $3. You're probably talking $3 million.
Talking $9.5. I think for Barzal.
Yeah, at least $3. I think $3 to $3.5 million difference between the two players, right? So 1.9, 1.6, basically. Probably.
I don't know whether Barzal's representation would allow him to sign a bridge deal. I mean, it would have to be a bridge deal like Kucherov, where it's in the $5 to $6 million range.
I don't think anyone has any desire.
Or you can remember you can backload the contracts now, so you can take a little bit.
That's true, but I brought it up about down the road concept with the Islanders, and what I was told is you're not going to sign a bridge deal with the Islanders, and that was an interesting thing. It just came like that was what I was told flat out. That's there's a lot of there's a lot of uncertainty about the Islanders.
Somebody in the chat room just suggested
there are people, believe it or not, that believe the Islanders are going to be the Quebec Nordiques. And I've talked to people about that too. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't
think people say that. I don't think that's happening.
I don't think the NHL, but there are people in the league who believe it. The NHL, though, like I've said many times before, I haven't for a while though. Is
even while they're building a new arena, like why would you say that now?
I know, but I agree. But maybe the thinking is this: the only way that happens, the only way the NHL lets that happen at all, would be to move them there if the arena was delayed long enough, and like give them like an expansion team 2 or 3 years from now in the island, and that kind of thing. That they want a team on the island. The NHL is very proud of the fact that they have never relocated a team after that team has won a Stanley Cup. It's a strange concept, but it's true. That's never happened. And no team is, and the island. So because the NHL believes, and this came up with Carolina before. That's how I found out about that they really felt strongly about this. They believe that once you win a Stanley Cup, that like cements yourself in the city, and that city becomes like, that's the NHL's thought on that.
I think for the most part, that's true. I mean, it's gone up and down with that fan base a little based on the ownership, and I don't blame the fans one bit, but it's a natural rival for the Rangers. And at the end of the day, you don't really want to lose that, because if you take that away, then the Rangers go back to being a natural rival for either the Devils or the Flyers. And
go ahead, Anthony.
So for maximum chaos, I really, really hope the Arizona Coyotes win the Stanley Cup this year.
Right. I know. Don't you? Or the Florida Panthers. Just throw it out there. To me, the Panthers are even more likely to move than Arizona. So
yes, the Panthers are.
I mean, if any team's going to move, to me, that's the team that's primed for it. And although the same thing, the NHL does believe, and they really want this to happen. And I'm surprised they've never tried to manipulate it to get the Panthers and Lightning to play each other in a playoff series. They want that so badly to happen.
Yeah.
Now, I feel
like they would have it.
Somebody in the chats said, no way the Videotron Center is awaiting the Ottawa Senators. And I've been saying that all along.
There are people who believe that too.
I was told by somebody in Ottawa that that's not going to happen, that the NHL wants to keep them in Ottawa. I would think probably because the Canadian government is there, and there's a lot of, you move them out of Ottawa, then you're going to create enemies in the Trudeau government or any other government that's going to be there. But I still think that franchise is in chaos right now because of the ownership. And if it keeps being that way for another couple of years, then I think they're going to have no other choice. If you have a brand new building in Quebec City and keep them in the same division, it would be a very easy move to move Ottawa to Quebec City. So
yeah, they don't want to go to 33 teams. I was told that.
Right.
They want to stay at 32. And because 32 works perfectly,
until they need more money. Let's be realistic.
Right, of course. But 32 for now works perfectly, because if you're going to go to 33 or 34, suddenly you're unbalanced. So you're unbalanced until you get another 4 teams in, because you have 4 divisions or
and
36
or
whatever.
Much.
The way they're playing now. Yeah.
Well, I think it's Florida's not like Vinny Viola doesn't have the money. I mean, the guy's putting up a lot of money for the Mets to try to bid on them.
But he just doesn't like fans.
But again, rich guys don't stay rich by making stupid moves.
I know.
Right. I think that in his mind,
don't have an arena in a location that it's a poorly planned location also.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And I think that, I mean, I don't ever want to see a team like I'm always anti-relocation in a big way, because I do believe that there are people in Florida that the Panthers matter to. Like, we can sit there and say that not a lot of them, but there's more than that, and there are people there that matter, right? And we've seen Florida in the past at times, like when they went on their run, there was an excitement in that city for the hockey team. So, and there's plenty of New Yorkers in Florida, as you know, that are like
all of them that hate hockey.
Miami area, that if you have a hockey team,
not all. I told you. Look, we spoke about this once before, Mike. The game against the Islanders, if they win that game and they advance to the next round, how different things might have been.
I know.
Oh yeah. I totally agree with that. And I mean, to me, you have to take all that into account, and you have to sit back and you have to say, okay, the Panthers and if you take the Panthers out of Florida, you've got the Lightning without a natural rival, right? Which is not something they want. And the Lightning have won a Stanley Cup, so they have, there's something to that they want to keep the Lightning there. They're not going to move the Lightning.
A long time ago.
For that rivalry to work, they actually have to meet each other in the playoffs, which this year,
they do. But this year, the Lightning were like the 5th or 6th most successful gate team in the NHL. That's its thing, So then that's something that is a huge difference in from where they were, even when they were going to the Stanley Cup Finals. They were still struggling gate wise. So they've gotten better since then. Since they went to that one Stanley Cup Final that year, they were giving away tickets most of the year. So. It's an interesting move how this all plays out. I know Quebec's going to get a team, though. That's there's no two ways about that. That's going to happen. They've been
in 5 years.
I think Quebec deserves a team. I mean,
I do think they do, and I think that it's going to be sooner than that, Russ, because of what's happening currently. If the Canadian dollar comes up, the whole thing. They basically, what I've been told many times, I've said it before, is that Quebec has a team when they want a team. That's what the NHL has said to them. Now, I think that Quebec would much prefer a relocated team than an expansion team.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't have to pay the fee.
They don't have to pay the fee, and they also get a little bit of a head start. Now,
I mean, with a $500 million expansion fee, and that wouldn't be an expansion; it would be a transfer. It would cost them $650 million Canadian because of the right now with the 70% dollar.
So the NHL, they said to the NHL, and the plan was for them to come in with Vegas. That was no question the plan. But when the Canadian dollar went crazily bad, they basically said to the NHL, we can't afford to do it yet. And the NHL said, okay, when you can afford to do it, let us know. Because before they built that arena, they got the go ahead. I'm told the actual personal word of Gary Bettman that they would get a team if they built that arena, and they did. So to me, that's happening. The NHL doesn't go back to things like that.
Florida makes the most sense in the sense that
they do.
They're in that same division, and there's natural rivalry with Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, Buffalo, Boston. I mean, it makes it would leave Tampa as the only team south of the Mason-Dixon in that division, but so what?
I still wouldn't say Arizona's safe yet either.
No. You can never say
that. Though, that if Florida moves out of that, if Florida was to move, then Tampa was left alone there would be serious consideration about a realignment. Basically, because if Tampa was the only team in that division.
Yeah, I could see that.
So the concept is they would rather have Tampa have their play like natural rivals of Carolina and Nashville and Dallas, then they would have like that. They would rather have like a true Southeast division. How they would
Yeah, but
that makes sense.
Each division is going to be 8 teams. Who the heck are you moving in the Atlantic?
I don't know how they would do it, but I know that the thought has always been they feel like Tampa and Nashville, Tampa and Carolina would have really seriously good rivals.
Well, should Nashville be out west? That's the question, right? I mean, should they be a Western Division team?
They should not. They should be an Eastern Division team. But
Nashville, who are you shifting then?
Nashville.
I think the Capitals. You move the Capitals to the Atlantic.
Maybe. I mean, maybe I don't know.
You're not moving in. You're not moving the 2 Pennsylvania teams. You're not moving the 3.
You're not moving one of the New York teams. I know. No. So, yeah, you're obviously. It would have to be the Capitals or the Blue Jackets. Probably, I think it would be the Blue Jackets.
It could be either or.
I think the Blue Jackets would be the natural pick to do that.
Yeah,
or to move the Blue Jackets to the West, which would be another thing. Which is like that's I mean
they hated it. They hated it in the West.
Oh yeah, they hated it in the West. They will never move Detroit back to the West because they made that deal with them. That one-time thing, and they did.
But the owner they made that promise to is dead.
Yeah.
His kid runs the team, Mike. It's not.
I know, but I'm just saying they made that promise.
King Louis' head, is that basically the concept?
If my dad wanted something, even if he was dead and I still owned the team, I would still do what my dad wanted.
So, I've been watching too much Hamilton. So yeah, okay.
I made a promise to your dad, not to you.
So King Louis' head. All right. So no. I think that's. I know that they really, really want. Nashville has pushed, and Carolina has pushed forever to have them in the same division. That they feel like, and that is. I mean, those states are right next to each other. I mean, North Carolina. If you drive west side of North Carolina, you're in Tennessee, and those two, and it's you're looking at a really like an SEC, like type thing, right? Like a college football thing down there with Tampa and Florida and all that. Ideally, they would rather Florida.
I'm surprised you even know about the SEC. That's impressive.
You're impressed that I know about that?
Yeah.
I know things, Russ.
Did Delaware play them?
There's a difference between knowing and not caring. I don't care about the SEC. I know it.
I mean, I only cared when I went to Houston. After I left, I didn't care either. But
right. So moving on from that for a second. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot to this. And I think that this coronavirus and this crazy couple years of NHL doing all this stuff could really move up relocation in a big way. I don't believe it will be Ottawa. And I think that, and I know that you said Ottawa, actually, Mike, you say Ottawa is a mess. I would say Ottawa is not as big of a mess as they were 2 or 3 years ago. No, I think the belief.
Are you talking players or financially?
No, just
the team.
Let's start with the big thing. First of all, are they a mess with their fans? Okay.
Yes.
They're not as big. Yes, but not as big of a mess as they were 2 or 3 years ago.
I have friends in Ottawa. I don't know about that.
2 or 3 years ago, they were coming off a 1 goal away from getting to the Stanley Cup final. Now Carlson's gone. Now Duchesne's gone. Now Stone is gone. Now Pierre Dorion deserves a lot of credit because that team is very young and there's some really good young talent there. They've made some pretty sharp moves, but I'm talking ownership. I'm talking fans' relation to the team. I'm talking the building. I'm talking a number of things that don't have to do with the product on the ice. When you're putting tarps up on the upper deck at that Canadian Tire Center in a Canadian market, you are running a complete.
No, they hit their. I mean, they hit their low. Right. There's no question that's their low. There was a time when they drew fans. There was a time when they were. I mean, they've always struggled because of where they are. No question about it. Anybody who's been to that, I've been to that. Have you ever been? I've been out to that stadium.
To be fair, they're 31st. They only could be lower if Seattle was in the league.
No, I know.
Seattle won't be below them in terms of.
I'm just saying.
No, and they won't be.
They were better. That I believe that they're trending upward.
They need a goalie, but they're definitely a team that's better than what it looked like it was going to be 2 years ago. Not saying they're good, but better than we all anticipated when the gutting started.
Now I will perhaps watch them if they're on center ice. Like I will find them interesting enough to watch. Where there was a point at which I would not watch them. They were just unwatchable.
That's the thing. They have talent. Brady Tkachuk, Connor Brown.
Yeah, they've got a lot of heart. They got a good coach and they got a good GM. They have a lot of things in place. They don't have a good owner. And if the NHL said to that owner, you either sell the team or we're moving the team, I think he would sell, and I think if they had a new owner, I think the Ottawa fans would quickly fall in line behind what they're doing right now.
All right, in 2018-19, Ottawa averaged 14,553. They averaged like 12,800 this year.
Yeah, well,
I don't see the evidence of what you're saying, other than yes, the players are better, but the fans are fed up still.
Yeah,
the fans are still fed up, no question.
They're not going to put money in Eugene Melnick's pocket.
Right, there's a huge thing there. I just think that when the fans think of their Ottawa Senators, they're a little more excited about them than they were.
Okay, maybe.
I mean, I'm not going to say that they're excited enough to go and pay for them.
Right.
But they are more. There was a period there where it was really dark. Okay, like I mean, beyond.
No, that's fair.
I think the darkest we've seen of any team, perhaps, in a long time, were the Ottawa Senators, right after like the Eriksson, the Karlsson trade, like right in that range. When they lost Karlsson, they had nothing left for fans to show up for. Right. Let me move to my other trade because I do have to leave at 3:55 today because I'm going to be doing Kevin Allen's podcast, and he does our podcast so often, so I may have promised to
adultery.
I know. I'm so sorry. You guys do it all the time, though, so I don't feel too bad.
Oh, now you get throw back like it's.
This is the first time I've said I should also see.
Look at the other two, not me.
I know, Jan. I'm with you. Thank you, Jan. I appreciate your on.
Well, because they don't invite me. That's why.
I know, and that's probably why. That's why I don't.
Getting killed here for no reason.
I mean, Russ does 2 shows.
It's too easy, Russ.
Russ has done 3 shows over time.
Nobody else wants him on his podcast.
Russ has done 3 shows over time. I've never been.
You were in a public podcast without Mike.
And we're gonna get you on off the post now because you've expressed an interest in coming on.
I'm here. I would love to.
All right, we will get you on
as long as it works out for me well. As long as I can pay my big
January of 2022. Is that
I don't open up Zoom for less than $1,000. If I get paid by big, I'm there. All right.
Gotcha.
All right. Next up, let's go. No, I'm going on Kevin's show, by the way, to speak to explain how he wants me to answer why the Flyers can win the Stanley Cup. That's my job. All right. Anyway, so if you want to see that later, good luck. Right. All right. So the last thing I want to get into is Pietrangelo, who we're going to say properly all the time, right? Pietrangelo.
Yes, we will. Mike won't.
For the first time, like we've always thought, okay, he's like I've said, he's probably the number 1 UFA if he's available. But I thought I'd put Hall first because I don't think he's really available. Turns out he is actually probably going to be available. And talking to a really good St. Louis scout last night, they basically said that it's pretty much been resigned within that organization that this is it, and he kind of knows it too. And it's a shame, and they're all not happy about it. They're all going to make the most of it. They're not going to talk about it for sure, but they're going to. But this is it because I mean it's obviously the salary cap staying flat. It's just they realize that he's going to have to take a huge pay cut to stay in St. Louis beyond, and it really doesn't make any sense. And they really don't. I don't even think the Blues would feel right asking him to do that. That's the impression I got. Like they feel like we can't even ask him to take $5 million a year. We can't do that.
Right?
It's not and they're right. They can't. And somebody's going to give him 8 or 9. Kevin seems to think. I still think that I'm still doubtful of that to agree, but with this economy, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, and we've said this on the show a few times. We knew that Pietrangelo would be gone as soon as they traded for and re-signed Justin Falk, because you're paying Justin 6.5. Then you sign Scandella after trading for him to sort of mediocre $3.275 million. But okay, you're spending 6.5 on Falk, 5.5 on Parayko, a little over 3 on Scandella. You signed Gunnarsson. You have to re-sign Vince Dunn, and now you have Perunovic coming in. They don't have the room unless they buy out Alex Steen or he retires, or unless they buy out or trade Tyler Bozak.
I think what they're going to do, Mike, is they're going to let him go look at deals.
Yes,
I guarantee you he'll come back to them and say, "This is what I'm being offered. Are you going to be able to do anything with this, or should I go there?"
Right. That's exactly what it's going to happen. And he's definitely going to give him a chance. I mean, he wants to stay there. They want him to stay there. But the reality is they might not even feel right asking him for taking the kind of cut that he's going to have to take.
Right.
And because there's a lot of respect there. There's no hard feeling.
Oh, yeah. There's no question. They love him. I could see it last year.
Yeah. There's no hard feelings at all. They will understand why he has to do it. He'll understand why they have to do it. It's one of those situations that, if they can work it out, great. But it just, the way the economy's going and the Blues being the success. I mean, the Blues are, let's not forget, are a threat to repeat it.
They are a threat.
I mean, they are very much in that world, and there are plenty of teams out there, including the Toronto Maple Leafs, I was told, who would be all over this. And
I mean, the problem is
money.
The problem is with the Leafs.
Money.
I mean, like with everybody else, but the problem is with the Leafs is that you will have to move out somebody.
Nylander's got to go.
It would have to be Nylander.
It has to be Nylander. Although we talked before about the thing we did talk about before, the concept that they could perhaps, move a couple other guys.
Well, if you move Kerfoot and Kapanen, then you're clearing.
I talked about Kerfoot and I think it was Johansson, maybe.
Johnson,
yeah.
Right. But if you look at St. Louis, the Falk contract looks like a severe overpayment right now.
Right.
I mean, he made $4.1 million and spiking at $6.5. He looks like a $4 million defenseman, not a $6.5 million defenseman.
No, and it's one of those things that the Blues are like, if we knew this was going to happen, of course we don't do that deal.
Right. And the
They'd rather have Pietrangelo than Falk. There's no ways about that.
Right. The Blues.
Well, I think the other thing is, I don't think Falk has the kind of run on the power play there that he did in Carolina. If Pietrangelo's gone, he will.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but Perunovich is going to get a shot also. And you have Parayko,
he'll be the guy.
as well.
He'll be the number one guy in the power play.
But Dunn can play the power play, and so can Parayko.
Sure, everybody can play it, Jan, but Falk is going to be the number one guy. That's why they have.
Right, but the question is given where he was fitting into your structure when you brought him in, was there a necessity to give him that $6.5 million immediately?
Well, yes. If he was going to run the power play in case Pietrangelo left, then the answer is yes.
Well, but that wasn't going to be until next year.
No, but they looked ahead. That's why they signed Falk.
Well, then you can't. Then basically, you're presuming that Pietrangelo's not going to be back.
Right.
Right.
No, I think they knew for a fact that he wasn't going to be back.
That may not be a fact now, though.
No, they didn't know. They didn't. I was told they really, and I believe them because they're telling me what they're. I mean, there's no reason that they knew that he was not going to be back. They really did feel that there would be a way of doing it.
Right.
And they, but there's that way of doing it was going to be incredibly hard, and it's just incredibly harder now. And there's just like getting around that. You can't shake that, right? That's
the team that has been rumored about Pietrangelo that makes the most sense is a team in their own division, and that's Colorado, because Colorado has got all this money open up. A guy like Ian Cole's contract expires after next year. They're only paying two defensemen over $5 million. One is Girard, the other one is Johnson. Now they're going to have to pay Makar, obviously, and Makar's
how long is Johnson's deal?
Johnson's got 3 more years. Now that might be a deal that goes in expansion.
Right.
But remember, you talk about you have Makar, you have Graves, right? You have Bynum coming up.
Yes.
There's only so many guys you're going to want to. I'd rather save the money to use on my forwards than spend on a guy because you have depth in defense there already.
Yeah, Zadorov too. So, but
I mean, you have Timmins who potentially is going to come up also down the road, right?
Yeah, Timmins will
not going to rely on all the young kids, but
I tend to agree with Jan on this one. Yeah,
and Johnson has a no move clause, so he can't be exposed unless he wants to be exposed.
Right. So, I wanted to ask one other question of you guys before I leave, because I don't know this question. I was trying to find the answer. You guys might know it, and it's like a little bit. I have to admit, I'm sorry. It's a little bit of research for the next show that I'm doing here. But Nolan Patrick, okay, who I know is I talked to people around, and I heard yesterday he's feeling the best he's felt in over a year. This is probably the best thing because I think he would have tried to force his way in somehow, and I'm glad he didn't. I really wanted him to take this whole year off. Is he definitely ruled out for the Flyers?
For the playoffs?
Yeah,
or forever?
For the playoffs.
I think he wasn't on the roster that was added.
Yeah, he's not on the roster, so he's
on the roster.
He's ruled out.
Okay, so he's not on the roster. I wasn't sure if they had done that or not. I
do think you have to keep in mind, Eck, when he's saying this is the best he's felt in a year, he has not faced any contact or a road trip even to see how he's going to react.
Oh, no, I definitely don't think he should be playing.
No, but I mean, even next year will be in question now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We don't know if he's going to just magically heal over the summer. Yeah. You don't know until you start putting him through the paces of being a hockey player again what will happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, Oscar Lindblom, doesn't make he can't play. And people were asking me that question. I'm like, no.
We don't think he can, but they did let him skate, I think, to make him feel good and
for sure.
To train over the summer. Who knows? I mean, we've seen weirder things with guys coming back from diseases. I won't count him out. I'm just going to say it's probably a long shot, but I won't count him out.
I mean, I think, like pre-existing conditions. I mean, come on, like he is like his immunity system has to be low. I mean, this is like a guy who should not be involved in this.
Well, I mean, if there were
if the thing wasn't going on, yeah.
No, if there's a COVID cure and he's feeling better by January, you never know. But you're right. No,
I think he could be. I think he'll be back next year. I do agree with that. I think.
But you're right about that. If there's no cure for COVID, he would be a very high risk guy.
Yeah, like right now, no. I mean, and it definitely. I think they wanted him out there for his own being, and I think it was also very
that is
inspiring for the players too to see him out there. I think it really
absolutely. They all talked about it and fired him up.
And I want you guys to talk about this. I got to go, but the thought that I had that we may talk about tomorrow is the emotional impact of certain things, like like Colby in in Edmonton or Lindblom here, and what in Philly, like in the tournaments like this, we usually see like a story like this develop about like, can guys like, does this help a team rally in a situation like this? And I think it does.
We're not talking about emotions, Zach. The minute you leave, it stops being a women's show.
I'm out of here. See you later, guys.
Oh, wait. Now you sound like a jello there, Russ. Seriously? We got to send you to diversity training, too?
Hey, Russ.
Thanks for the misogynistic comment there, Russ.
I'm off the hook.
I'm out of here.
For now.
I'm not ending the broadcast. I'm leaving.
See ya.
Chase them away. Well, let's
wait. I got one dark horse team for Pietrangelo.
Okay.
I just took a look. It might take a little machinations to get him in. Edmonton actually has enough room almost to fit him in. One small move, and they need help on that blue line. You put him on that blue line, that's an awfully dangerous team.
I can't remember. Have they paid Nurse yet or not yet?
No, they signed him to a
they did. Nurse is making $5.6 million the next 2 years.
Yeah, the problem
you got Chris Russell making $4 million next year. You can try to get rid of their UFAs are Anasu, Sheehan, Ennis, and Russell, and you got Mike Green, who you could probably get rid of anyway.
They would have to buy him out. They would have to buy out. Right, Russell.
But they still have about $8 million under the cap before you would have to figure out how to get rid of Russell.
I don't think it's crazy, but I think Ken Holland probably needs to lock up Nurse before he goes to do this.
Nurse for 2 more years at 5.6 after this.
No,
year.
I know, but long term, he needs to know what Nurse's number is, and he may know it because the minute you bring Pietrangelo there, you now have to worry about Nurse leaving in 2 years.
He's got some dead money here. He's got the James Neal contract for 3 more years. He signed Cassian, which I think was stupid, at 3.2. They have to re-sign Athanasiou, and they traded a lot to get him.
I'm not saying it'll be easy, but there is a pathway, and there's a team that his leadership and what he brings on the blue line would make a huge difference.
No question. But if they pay him $9 a year, right? They're going to have to pay Nurse 6.5, 7.
How old is Pietrangelo? 30, 31?
30.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah,
how many years are you giving him?
And they're going to have to give him 5.
5?
He's going to want 7.
He's going to want 7.
30-year-old blue liner in the Western Conference, a 7-year deal?
No, he's not going to
want it. That's the point.
Want and get are 2 different things.
Well, if they don't give it to him, somebody else will.
Probably. No, I don't know about 7. I think they'll give him 5.
And pretty much, and some Edmonton fans will say good riddance. But if you sign him to a deal like that, then you're pretty much saying goodbye, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, because you can't afford him.
That's probably true. But, at the end of the day, he has fit in real well with Tippett, though. I wouldn't say definitely, Mike. I think there's still some other moves that can happen to save Nugent-Hopkins. I do.
I mean, you'd have to give up your first-round pick to get Seattle to take James Neal off your hands. Maybe they would do that.
What do you mean?
James Neal was high enough in the standings.
What's that?
If you finished high enough in the standings, you might do that.
Right.
How many goals did James Neal end up with anyhow?
I think it was like 18.
Yeah, something like that.
And what did he have? 10 in like the first 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, he had 19 goals.
But most of them on the power play, I think, also.
Right. Yeah, no, they probably Neal. That was just a flash, man.
Now let's just bring up a couple things before we end the show. One,
we're not going to talk about our feelings. I thought that's what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, I'll go start pruning my roses outside. A couple signings. We were expecting the Kaprizov signing and the Romanov signing. The Sorokin one was interesting, Russ, because they signed 2 separate deals. One, the burn year for $925 with no bonuses. And then 5 minutes later, Daniel Milstein tweets out, hey, we got another deal, $2 million 1-year deal with a $1 million bonus. You can say goodbye, Thomas Greiss. It's over with.
Yeah.
Enjoy this.
UFA anyway, Greiss. So.
Right,
yeah.
But I'm saying they're not going to re-sign him. He can enjoy the Swiss League or wherever he's going to go. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you? This thing was so long and drawn out. It's almost anticlimactic.
I think what's interesting is, the first deal they couldn't do anything about, right? So Sorokin just takes that, and it's like whatever. The second deal, Sorokin can at least get this bonus by next July?
Probably.
And so that's like moving expenses for him, right? So that's a nice little thing. That's probably what was been in negotiation for so long, Mike.
Actually, I think he gets it in December
December. Okay, even better. So, but that actually was probably the big negotiating part, because to get $1 million out of Lou and Ledecky in a bonus for a player they haven't seen is probably what the stumbling block was all along. And that's a good move, though. I'm glad the Islanders did it, because he will be their best goalie. And actually, in a couple of years, it might only take 2 years, when he and Shesterkin are battling in New York, that was a battle for the World Junior team for Russia. That, these guys have been at odds their whole career, so I could see there being an intense rivalry too with these two goalies.
And apparently they're buddies.
So what does he get? He gets the prorated amount of the salary he got now.
Yeah, basically, but he's not playing, so he's not going to get anything.
No. But I mean, if you think about it, he's getting minimal dollars now, right? I mean, he's signed. For all intents and purposes, he's signed.
Yes.
But it's a way to just burn the ELC where you're not getting really any money. Your money starts coming a little bit next year, and then he's an RFA for 2 years afterwards.
Right. It's a gateway contract, basically. Right. It enables the second year to be
a little cash in his pocket, where you're going to get the $1 million bonus on December 1 next year, and then make your $1 million for the season. Right.
The other one was Mikhail Grigorenko signing with Columbus, which actually happened a couple months ago, but it was negated by the league. So Columbus simply just waited until it was legal to sign him to the same exact deal. He did not play well in Buffalo. He played better in Colorado. He played really well in the KHL. I think this is a good signing, especially for 1.2, because he could be a third line guy, score you 15, 20 goals.
It's an excellent signing. My source in Russia told me he was a guy that, after coming from the NHL, he just needed to sort of like mature as a hockey player. And he has matured now as a hockey player. He's always had a lot of ability, and maybe it's not as high as we thought it was, but he could play third line center, and he probably can get you 12 to 15 goals. Yeah. If you get that, that's perfect for Columbus, because again, he's also a big body with speed. Right. And that's another thing that serves well for them. So the other part is, what we haven't talked about is like what's going on with some of these player injuries. And Pierre-Luc Dubois was practicing. Aaron Portzline put that he was practicing on his own, and the minute groups of players came on the ice, he left. So that seems very suspicious. And so now we don't know what's up with Pierre-Luc Dubois at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, and they're not. We'll be challenged to find out exactly what, because they'll just say unfit to play, or they won't give any details on the situation. We've run into that throughout the league with a number of players. Russ, let's just briefly talk about the thing we were talking about yesterday about these teams in the round robin, because I said a couple months ago that you were going to see, like, if it's Boston versus Tampa, it's going to be more like Providence versus Syracuse. You're not going to see these teams risking playing some of their top players in these meaningless games if it's a difference between finishing second or third. And Chuck Fletcher basically said something to that effect. Yeah,
to not exactly quote him, but the basic sense was, the game's important. It's the first one. So we're going to play, but I'm going to play a lot of players, because at the end of the day, I want my 20 bodies to be healthy. And so a lot of guys are going to play. Now, they asked Brian Elliott about that today, and he said he hasn't even spoken to the coaches. He just sees them, says hi in the hallway, and they keep going. So you will see Carter Hart probably play a period, and then Elliott probably takes over, plays a period, and maybe even Alex Lyon gets in there for a period. Right. Wouldn't shock me if that's the way that game goes. And then again, a guy like Mark Friedman, who just got signed, seeing a lot of those players and resting some of the other ones. Maybe, Niskanen plays 10 minutes, maybe Braun plays 10 minutes, and then they rest the rest of the game. Wouldn't shock me at all.
Now, those are games with some consequence. It's interesting because Sheldon Keefe was asked.
It's for seeding, though.
It's for seeding, but I'm saying, but still, there is some consequence. Some of these exhibition games that these teams are playing before the August 1st starting date of the playoffs, Sheldon Keefe was asked, do you know who the Leafs will be playing in those exhibition games? They don't even know the team that they're playing against, let alone who they're going to. So you're telling me right now that the Leafs are going to play, their top 12 forwards and their top 6 defensemen? I think they're going to play it's going to be like a preseason lineup where half the guys will play and half of them won't.
And let's be honest, this normally the NHL rule has that rule. You got to play a certain amount of players in preseason because fans are paying money. Nobody's paying money for this. So teams could go rogue with this and not play anybody if they feel like it, and just play, all their secondary players. They could do that. They won't, because they want their guys to get on the ice. But again, players who are like 30 and above, someone like Claude Giroux, what's he going to play? They're going to play him for like a period? That's it. Those kinds of guys are going to be sitting.
And those games might be on, and it might be on NHL Network or NBCSN, but I'm telling you, they're not going to be on. They're not going to be on there for people actually wanting to watch. They're going to be on there so they can test their cameras. That's what more than likely.
Well, so, you were saying there were American cameramen in Canada.
Well, yeah, that's.
I think it's CNBC is more likely is where you're shunting these games, or USA Cable.
Right, and the story coming out of Toronto that I was reading online yesterday is that apparently it's going to be NBC camera crews doing the games at Scotiabank Arena, when you had Hockey Night in Canada and Sportsnet camera crews ready, willing, and able to do it. And that's, that might be, the fact that the Canadian Canadian cities got the hub. So they had to overcompensate in another way, and they're giving the U.S. camera people and the U.S. broadcasters some heads up or some step up, which I don't think is right, because, if the games were played in Toronto and Edmonton, there's nobody who does a better job in that than those crews in those particular towns. So
I agree, but, contractually, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast for the departed Anthony Mangione, for Eck, for Jan Levine.
No, Eck departed. Say it the same way.
The departed Eklund, okay. For Jan Levine, who's still here, damn it. And, and Russ Cohen. Wow. I'm Michael Agello. Thanks.
I'm just building it up, baby. Just keep talking, Mike.
Remember, without the buzz.
Remember, colors are a good thing, Mike.